Also take this opportunity to make an appeal to the workers and leadership of the NWC to return to work and to get back to manning our water stations and returning water, this essential commodity, to our citizens, to our businesses, to our schools, hospitals, and all our endeavors in making Jamaica a place that is growing, that is prosperous. We do understand and believe that there are valid concerns by the workers and staff of the NWC. We do understand that there may be issues of trust and confidence involved in the relationship between the workers and the government. We acknowledge that at some point the workers would have to get the attention of the government. And I believe that the attention has been gotten. We are in negotiations. We have been in negotiations since yesterday. Having that now being established, that we are negotiating, we are discussing and coming to conclusion and hopefully solutions, that it would be in the interest of all that the water supply is returned. In other words, now that we are at the table, we are discussing, there is no need for the public to continue to suffer. Right now as we speak, I'm getting several calls from businesses, from schools, from hospitals, that they are at serious risk. Hotels have been saying that they're trying to relocate guests into other areas where water supply is available. Many of them, their backup supplies are running low. So I start at this point in making an appeal to their workers. Jamaica is one boat, and if there is a hole in the boat, we are all at risk of sinking. I think that has to be the consideration for every Jamaican. Yes, your particular situation might be different, probably worse than others. But it makes no sense to jeopardize everything else. We are right at the cusp of taking off as a country. Coming out of a crisis, being the pandemic, then being hit by another one of which we had nothing to do with, a geopolitical issue, which has created even further dislocation in commodity markets, in particular energy, having to be dealing with inflation. But yet, the country is reporting increased employment, even more than before the pandemic. We're seeing the tourist arrivals increasing almost back to pre-pandemic levels. We're seeing economic activity taking off. We should not be the one. We consider water to be an essential commodity. We consider it to be an essential service. In the order of things, we must establish that this is the case. So I've asked the Attorney General to advise the government on the position as to whether or not the NWC is an essential service and how those workers would be classified. I just need to know and understand that. It is the belief that we have, but we want to just confirm it from a legal point of view. Because Jamaica is still a country of law and order. So once we have established that, then we will know how to proceed in this regard. The government wants to ensure that we have always industrial peace and harmony. And so we have been moving in a very deliberative way. We hear all the calls. People are very worried about this looming crisis of not having their regular water supply. We have given instructions to the JDF to prepare the Army Corps of Engineers to support the NWC management in returning the supply systems to operations. But that is not our first line. That is a course of action that the government must take in order to protect the national interest. But our first course of action is to appeal to the NWC workers to return to work and return the water supply. Negotiations are ongoing, so there is really now no need for the public to be deprived of the essential commodity. I have been speaking to the Minister of Finance and to the Minister of Labour, and my understanding is that they are making steady progress towards a solution. I want to assure Jamaicans that we're doing everything possible to return water supply to those areas that now don't have water supply. And in fact, the reports I'm receiving would be that some areas have already started to receive water. The public should be aware, however, that once the systems are turned off, it does take some time for them to be recharged and for the service to be returned. The NWC system is quite complex, and it is not merely a matter of turning on the valves once they have been turned off. It is quite a complex operation. And we acknowledge as well that we can't just go and turn on any valve. We don't know which valves control where. And so even though we have mobilized the engineers, it is with the understanding that this has to be done with the cooperation of the technical persons at the NWC. So the government has to act, and that means, one, we have to understand the basic order of how these industrial actions should take place, meaning we have to establish the legal basis on which these industrial actions occur. Secondly, we have to ensure that whatever backup plans that those are mobilized, and that would also include the mobilization of the JDF Corps of Engineers to support whatever restoration and rehabilitation plans that are there. And thirdly, we have to intensify our efforts at negotiation to come to a solution. So again, I make the appeal to the workers of the NWC. It is in your interest, it is in the country's interest that we do not precipitate and create a crisis of our own making to damage the growth and revenue of the economy, which ultimately that is what we will be relying on to ensure that everyone's interests can be addressed.